So thank you everybody for coming here tonight. I am going to briefly go over the project and let you know why we're here and what this meeting is about. And I'll talk a little bit about the timeline of how we got to where we are and why we're doing this project. A little bit about the proposed transfer, what will happen next after the meeting, and then we'll have some time for public testimony. So really our goal today is to hear from you. That we have this proposal before us that our commission is going to consider at their next meeting in November to transfer a portion of Sontag Park to the 9 Mile Falls School District. And the commission is going to want to know what the public think about it. So there are several reasons why we're having this meeting. One is that we're legally required to do this. The Revised Code of Washington says that we have to have a hearing in the county where the land transfer is going to be. And so that's what this is. We also want to be able to share your thoughts with our commissioners so that when they make the decision on whether or not to approve this transfer, then they'll know what people think of it. And then also we're interested in what you think ourselves and whether this is a good idea. And finally, State Parks is interested in being clear, open, and transparent. So this is to let you know what we're up to. I think you know where we are. We're in the northern part of Riverside State Park, one of our biggest state parks, second biggest state park in the whole state of Washington. In 1967, we leased about 65 acres to Spokane County to manage as Sontag Park. And so they have been running it as a county park since then until this year. And a few years back, finishing in 2018, we did a planning process for Riverside State Park where we re-looked at what the long-term boundary of the park should be. And through that process, it was identified that it might be better for some parts of Sontag Park to be managed by this school, the 9 Mile Falls Elementary School, and the 9 Mile Falls School District, versus remaining in county management. And that's because of a few reasons. One, it's closer. Two, the school was already using the facilities as an adjunct to their school campus here. Them being closer to it means that if there are any issues that the public bring up, they're in an easier, quicker position to address those issues. And then also if the developed parts of the park, the ball fields, the playground that the school is using, went to the school district, the rest of the park could be managed more like the rest of the state park. And it could serve as a trailhead facility for the Spokane River Centennial Trail. And because of that planning process that ended in 2018, where our commission recommended that we pursue this transfer to the school district, in 2021, Spokane County asked to terminate their lease on the park, and so they've done that. So right now we are working on an interim management agreement with the school district so that they could manage it until such time as the transfer goes through, if the commission approves that. And then our next step from here will be that on November 17th, it's going to be in Chelan, but it's also online. The commission is going to have a meeting where we are going to bring this issue to them and ask them whether or not to approve this transfer. And so they will decide yes or no on that. If they decide to vote yes on it, then we would then do surveys and do the background work. There'd still be a number of months before the actual transfer takes place. But that would give us the go-ahead to start that work. So The lighting here isn't great for this, but we also have a couple of boards here that you can come up and look at if you want to look closer. But this brown line here is the area that was previously leased by Spokane County and managed as Sontag Park. The red line here is about 2.9 acres, and it includes the playground, the ball field, and the turf area of the park. And that's the area that is being considered for transfer to the 9 Mile Falls School District. They'll use it for additional school programming and to expand their grounds of the elementary school. The remaining part in the brown area is currently and would remain, in this case, managed by Washington State Parks as part of Riverside State Park. And this shows it closer up. You see that the 2.9 acres to transfer is pretty much right next to the school and their facilities, which is why this conversation started, seemed to make sense. For them to continue to manage it, it would still be open for public use outside of school hours, that people could continue using these facilities the same way that they have been using them in the past. The Spokane County, when they sent us their letter asking to terminate the lease, they referred to this as a win-win-win situation. And the reasons are there on the screen, but one is that the public could get a quicker response time for issues that happen within the park and in the facilities in the park. The school district can expand their campus and have additional programming, and State Parks could then manage the rest of the park as a trailhead for the Spokane River Centennial Trail. Our plan is then in November, we will bring it to the commission, and we have a 7-member commission. We have one of our commissioners here with us today. And they will make a decision on whether or not this transfer should happen. If it is approved, then we'll continue forward with that work. And now I would like to I should have done this at the beginning, introduce our staff that are here, and we can help answer your questions if you have any. And then I would like to open it up for a public testimony. So first, I'm Nikki Fields. I am the Real Estate Program Manager for Washington State Parks, and I'll be the one taking this to the commission to see if they would like to approve it. And Laura.
Laura Greencar, the Region Manager here in Spokane, larger Spokane.
Justin Carlson, I'm the area manager. Ken Graham, Real Estate Program Coordinator.
Ollie Sproul, Riverside.
And Commissioner.
Lori Conley, I'm one of the commissioners. I live here in Spokane.
And so we have this group here that are able to answer questions about the transfer and the technicalities of it, the details, how it would work. The purpose of the meeting isn't necessarily for us to get in a debate about whether or not it should happen, but if you don't think it should happen, or if you do think it should happen, that's the kind of input that we'd like to be able to relay to our commission so that they'll know what the public think about it. So, when you would like to speak, we'd like you to state your name and your address for the record. We'll close the hearing when nobody else has anything more to say. If there's anybody here that's shy and you don't want to speak up for this hearing, we also have some paper and clipboards, and so if you would prefer to write your comments, that's okay too. Ken can help you with that if anybody would like to share comments in that fashion.
And they can also send them in, right?
In addition, if you go home tonight and you realize, oh, I should have said something, this isn't your last chance to get comments. So we have a project web page. The web address is there. On the web page is a copy of that agenda item that some of you have in front of you. There's a new agenda item for the transfer that will be added to the page soon. And there's also a map and a little bit more information. There's a button on the page that says provide comments. You can provide comments that way, or you can send them directly to our commission@parks.wa.gov. And any comments received by 5 o'clock on the 11th, 5 o'clock on the 11th, will be considered by our commission as they make this decision.
In addition, they also can do remote testimony on the day of the hearing.
Yes, so
As well, as long as all the technology works.
yes, so the commission meeting is a public meeting. There is a time for public testimony involved in it, and our webpage provides more information on how to do that. So you could attend the meeting in person if you wanted to, but it's in Chelan, or you could attend online and be able to provide testimony that way as well, directly to the commissioners. But we are going to take the recording from this meeting and put it on the webpage so that the commissioners can listen to it before the meeting as well. Yes?
Mike Howley, 1315 West Charles. In the previous slide, it said Discover Pass.
Yes.
So is this now going to be like the Discover Pass park to enter and go on the trailhead?
Yes.
Currently is not correct.
It has not been under the county. It was not, the Discover Pass was not applicable to the park, and it will be, yes. Any other questions, or does anyone have thoughts that they want to share? Yes, sir.
James Larkin, North 14909 Oxford Street, Plainwell. I've lived out here pretty much my whole life. Sontag Park was organized. In fact, maybe Danny, we were out there picking rocks. And this thing was organized. If the state takes this thing over, which I was at their last meeting before COVID, and we vehemently said we didn't want the state park to be another organized. We pay taxes on this property, everybody in the community. It's a free parking area. It's a great area if you don't want to buy a Discover Pass. As far as I'm concerned, it's just another money grab by the Washington State Parks Commission. The parking up and down the street when they have this dog show is horrendous. And if you go down by the Indian paintings or other various places, these people do not buy a Discover Pass. They're going to park on it, and it's going to be nothing but a hazard. Our taxes pay for this, and it should remain like that. Go down to the rocks where they dive off. They have problems down there. People got hurt, killed, and the state people say nobody gets hurt down there. In fact, water deputy, I had quite a little laugh about the last time somebody got hurt. The state said, oh, no, that's the only ones got hurt now. They also say that area down there is not supervised well. The deputy says there's more domestic problems down there at that 9-mile launch area. You don't have enough boots on the ground to take care of it, and you're saying you're going to take care of this apple pie order to be a win-win situation? I call no.
Thank you. Are there other folks that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
William Downey, I live at 9313 West Corning, just down the road from here. What I foresee this being is a way for the school to eventually expand, because it'll increase, they probably have to have a certain amount of playground space, so this is a way for them to have more playground for eventual expansion, which is fine. I like the fact that Sontag Park is here because it helps relieve stress in the rest of the park. I'm in Riverside State Park for 5-6 days a week. Probably there's very few people who use it more than me and my whole family. And I've seen a huge increase in use. So having another trailhead actually I think is a good thing. I'm worried about once the school eventually expands, would this protect Sontag Park so that it cannot be absorbed by the school when they say we have to use the absorbed again and go underway.
If such a request came in some years from now, it would also have to go through a similar process where we would have to consider it and seek public input on it. So it wouldn't be any kind of automatic thing. What we would be doing is actually transferring the deed or doing a boundary line adjustment to transfer that 2.9 acres to the adjacent property, the school. We would have to go through that whole process again to do it anymore.
I just one point to the district manager for the school district had intended to be here this evening and didn't realize he had a conflict. So I just want you to know he was Jeff Carroll, and he will try to come maybe later. He said.
Ma'am.
So, Darren Dennison, 7616 North Garfield Road. It's actually Spokane, but it's over by the airport. And I use the park quite a bit, and people in my area use the park a lot. So I think that having a Discover Pass in that parking lot is going to be an advantage because people pull in there and they crowd and they park and they peel out and they ruin the parking lot because it's free. They don't have to pay to park there. So I think having a Discover Pass is going to be helpful. And I also want to know, so is this going to be fenced off so that the kids can stay on their side and the park can be on this side? Because right now there's no fence between.
I don't know the answer to that. That seems like something the school would need to decide once the property is theirs.
Yeah, I don't know anything more than that. We haven't had any discussions with the school, specifically about the penalty.
Yes.
Neil Weiss, 12407 North 9 Mile Road, 9 Mile Falls. I think it's positive. I've already seen the improvements in what the state has done to the parking lot. I have talked over the past 5 years with Spokane County on fixing the parking lot. They consider this their furthest point of the county, and they have no interest in doing it and didn't. So far, it's been very positive what the state has done, and I think Discover Pass, for what people have to pay, for what we get in this beautiful park, it is way worth it. And I think having an additional Discover Park Pass area is going to be positive. And we're here, a lot of us are here today, I'll just jump into it, to talk about or give input into the tennis courts, which isn't part of this, but I wanted the commission to know. There is an interest, strong interest in this area to have the tennis courts turned into pickleball courts, and it's the potential for use and revenue is also there for that, which can be seen by how much pickleball is present in our community as well as in the state. So if there's anybody else that's interested in pickleball here, then please speak up. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
David Kellogg, 10020 West Hill Avenue. Clarification, this land is owned by the state park,
Yes.
leased by the county.
It was leased by the county, but that lease isn't existing.
We requested to break the lease.
Yes.
So our three choices are State Park, 9 Mile Elementary School, or commercial development, which is really a park.
There haven't been any proposals to develop it.
The State Park takes over, period. The county's back that.
That's true. But there haven't been any proposals to develop it.
No, I know, it's so hard to do that, the commercial, I understand.
The gentleman here would like to make a second statement, but I wanted to see if anybody else who hasn't spoken yet wanted to talk first. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to clarify a couple points. You made a good point there, but they requested to get out of the lease. They're not out of the lease.
They are out of the lease.
They're out of the lease. Was there a public hearing about that?
No. They requested to be released from the lease, and State Parks
Al Frank's requested the release.
and State Parks approved that.
Why wasn't there a public hearing about that?
It's not required.
So basically, State Parks do anything they want to.
State Parks can manage its property, yes. presumably some of your Spokane County taxes were going toward the park maintenance. Probably not much based upon what I'm hearing, but some, yes.
So basically, this is just a fund grab, put a Discover Pass to park in that parking lot, which again, I'll reiterate, these parking areas alongside the highway are going to be full, like they are taking paintings and the various other places. Correct?
That debating the virtues of the Discover Pass isn't what the meeting is here for, but I appreciate you sharing that opinion with our commission so that they could hear it.
Right. And we're not going to debate one way or another. You pay the pass to get in the park. But there's other avenues which causes passes.
Yes, thank you for sharing that with our commissioners. Any other? Yes, ma'am.
So, if it's taken over by the school district, what can they do without any approvals? What can't they do? I mean, can they make it a parking lot? Is that, what can?
It would belong to the school at that point, and they could do whatever they are legally allowed to do with property. So they'd have to go through whatever permit processes are required by the county in order to develop something, but they could change it how they see fit. Yes.
So no park like restrictions.
What was that?
No deed restrictions are that most recent.
Yeah, so the only deed restriction we'd have is State Parks is required to do consultation with Native American tribes before doing projects that disturb the earth, digging of any kind. And so we would transfer that requirement to the school district. So they would have to do cultural resource surveys and consultation with the Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation and local tribes before doing projects in the park. Yes?
I guess theoretically we have access to that property from the school parking lots then, still?
Yeah, so outside of school hours, you could use the school parking lot to access that part of the facilities, the ball field and the playground. Any other questions or things you'd like to share with our commission? Yes.
James Bell from Oxford Road, Niagara Falls. The school district's always screaming for more money, which every school district does. They're always running out of money. If they're going to take over this land, they've got all these events that are happening out there, which is going to require liability insurance to cover any problems that happens there. Who pays for that? The school district doesn't have the money to go around.
I'm not an expert at the school district's finances. That would have to be a question that they would have to answer. We do have their email address that we could direct you to.
Yeah, after the meeting, I can give you contact information for the school district, for the district manager, if you wanted to talk to them about that.
So the land that gave away was State Park land, which was really our land. Right?
Yes.
They gave it away to the school district. And the school district gets in a bind and they sell that off.
The only deed restriction that we would have that we're intending to put on it is the one that I talked about relating to cultural
So
resources,
they could sell it.
presumably.
Texas people.
One last question, Bill Downey. Has the Sontag family had any input on this? They're the ones who originally donated, is my understanding.
We haven't heard from the Sontag family to my knowledge.
That's curious.
Why would you do this without contacting?
have an extensive contact list here that we use to reach out for this meeting. I am not sure whether the Sontag family is on that list. We don't have there aren't deed restrictions on the property that would require us to do that, but I don't know for sure whether they have been notified.
Right is right.
What was that?
Right is right and wrong is wrong. It's their park named after them. The right thing to do would be to contact them and see what their feelings are. Right? Just because they don't have a law written for it doesn't mean that's not the right thing to do.
Thank you. Any other things people would like to share or ask? I will turn off the recording if nobody else wants to talk. Okay. So if anybody would like to provide written comments tonight, you can ask Ken and he can get you some paper and pen and a clipboard to be able to do that. Otherwise, we have the email address that is up here that you're welcome to send additional comments to our commissioners. This recording will be put on the project webpage. It's also on here. And so you can listen to it again if you'd like to. And the commissioners will be directed to it so that they can listen to it before they make a decision on this project.
And come to me for contact information for the school district.
Yes. Thank you all very much for attending. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for doing
Thank you.